Welcome to Social Chatter episode 143. My name is Christian Karasevich, CEO and founder of socialchefs.com, and you're watching Social Chatter, your weekly social media marketing talk show, where we bring you the latest social media news from the past week. And we have quite a lot of news this week for you. We've got updates from Facebook, Instagram, as well as LinkedIn, and a few more. But I'm going to first bring on Nick Rishwain. Nick Rishwain's co-hosting this week for Social Chatter. Nick, how are you doing?
Hey, Christian, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me back.
Good to have you back. Everything is great. And I am really excited about our guest this week. I'm also excited, though, about the topics. I mean, we have quite a few topics that can help businesses. These are updates from Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. Big updates that I think can really help businesses this week. Yeah. But how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Ready to get on our topics. We did have a big Twitter update as well this week, but that's going to be available over on the blog because there was really probably too much information to get to in 40 to 45 minutes tonight. So we're going to have that over for you as well as several other updates on the blog this week.
Definitely. So let's do this. So for those of you watching at home, if you want to get the recap of everything we're talking about tonight, you can go to socialchefs.com/daily. Just subscribe to our newsletter. We send out a daily newsletter. You will get an update later on with everything, at least this today, at least you'll get the update with everything that we've talked about during the show, all the links, all the notes, all the topics, the videos, and whatnot. But we're going to go and bring on our guest. Our guest is Sarah Stahl. Nick, do you want to do a quick intro of Sarah?
I don't want to do a quick intro of Sarah because I want her to hear that I don't want to do
That's funny. This happened last time I was on. I think Nick hates me.
What happened, Sarah? Did I not want to do an intro last time, Sarah? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Can she hear me?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sarah, can you hear me?
Sarah, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can hear you. I just don't see or hear Nick.
Oh. Okay.
Huh. Okay.
Let me see. Do you have Facebook open, Christian? I'm not sure who can see.
Yeah, I've got Morris here. We've got Ken.
Are all three of us on screen?
I'm seeing everyone.
Okay.
All right, Christian, you may have to take it away here.
I could just hear you.
Huh. Nick, let me drop you off and bring you back in, actually. And Sarah, go ahead and tell everyone about yourself while I bring Nick, take him off and bring him back on.
Sure. Okay. My name is Sarah Stahl, and I am a digital marketing strategist in a startup company called Avant Creative that I am a partner in, and we just basically help people develop social media strategies and kind of a complete marketing mix. So when people ask me what I do, I kind of say that I'm building a marketing agency because that resonates with people, but I don't feel like that's what we're doing because we're more like business fixers. So, for example, a couple of local companies come to us and they have no web presence whatsoever, and we find out what their goals are and who their target audience is, and then we create a specific brand and messaging platform for them to reach their target audience. So we kind of have our hands in a lot of things, but our goal is always to create clear communication and determine social media ROI.
Very good, very good. Can you hear everybody now, or everybody's seeing Nick and myself?
Hi, Sarah. Can you see me again?
Yeah, Nick's back.
And you can hear me?
And I can hear you, yes.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad you introduced yourself because I didn't want to introduce you or say one kind thing about you just because I thought you would laugh at that. And
I don't know. I feel like that would have been a really good intro.
You did a great job.
You have another chance if you'd like.
No, you did a fantastic job. I'm glad you're back with us. And in fact, it's funny because two of our Alabama folks are with us as well, or were with us.
Yeah.
Morris Lilienthal and Bernard Nomberg.
The three of us.
The three Alabama folks. That's right. And so, Christian, you want me to go ahead and jump right into our topics tonight?
Definitely, yeah. And so for everybody watching at home, if you're watching the replay or you're watching us live, so what I want to just do is, just hit that share button, invite your friends. Again, I mean, this show is for you. It's not just us saying, hey, let's just put a Facebook Live show together. We've been doing this for about 3 years, Nick, I think, right? Yeah. So so we basically, we want to help you, but, if you see something here that you're like, hey, that would be really useful for my business partner, or someone else, just hit the share button and invite them to join us on Social Chatter. But yeah, let's get started. Yeah, where do you want to kick it off with?
We'll start with we got 2 topics from Instagram tonight. I think both are pretty good for businesses. The first is bringing shopping to Instagram stories. So this earlier this week, they said they're beginning to expand shopping beyond just the news feed to Instagram stories. On Instagram stories, when you see a sticker with the shopping bag icon, you can tap on it to see more details about that product. And are you going to post the link over on Facebook for everybody to see, Christian?
Yes.
Okay, great. So if you open this link that Christian's sharing on Facebook, you'll see that they have a pair of sunglasses essentially with a shopping bag icon next to it. And so they say from Adidas to Aritzia to Louis Vuitton, people have been able to shop from their favorite brands around the world. Now you can shop these businesses in Instagram stories. I think that's, with 300 million people using Instagram stories every day, people are increasingly finding new products from brands they love. In a recent survey, Instagrammers said they often watch stories to stay in the know with brands they're interested in and get an insider view of the products they like. So I think this is, I don't know if this is going to be to everybody right now, Christian, or if it's a few big brands. That does not, I don't see that information in this post. But I think this is, if you like stories on Instagram and you, I don't follow any major brands or fashion or apparel type brands. I'm sure that is to be
Those
expected.
aren't Louis Vuitton glasses you're wearing?
No, they're not. And they're Ray-Ban, but I'm not following Ray-Ban on Instagram. But my lack of apparel knowledge is probably, I'm not the target for this, but it sounds like a lot of people do follow brands. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a great way for them to sell more of their products. Mm-hmm. Sarah, what are your thoughts on this?
Pinterest? Because I feel like Pinterest already did this like 2 years ago. So I don't know if they're following their API or what, because that's kind of essentially what you could do on Pinterest, right? Is tag a product in the picture and then sell it directly from the photo.
I don't use Pinterest very much, so I don't know. But Christian probably knows.
I would say all very similar. I mean, everybody's adding the same functionality. It's like saying, "Hey, I want to add a shopping cart." Everybody's hey, websites had shopping carts years ago. So there's got to be a shopping process. To answer Nick's question, like right now, yes, they're going to be working with Adidas, Artesia, Louis Vuitton, as well as a few other major brands. They're hoping to expand that, it seems, to other brands, and then they're going to start to roll this out, I think, to your regular Instagram business users. I almost said Pinterest there, but yeah. So this actually also reminds me of a service called it was called Polyvore quite a few years ago, and that actually was another shopping tool as well, where you could shop from a photo, for instance. This is just basically coming to social media. So. Mm-hmm. I think from a business perspective, this could be a very useful feature, but I am going to agree with find the comment here. Actually, I'm going to agree with Chris here, who says, feels like Instagram is trying to do too much, and I would say yes. I do feel that Instagram's trying to do too much. I think we've said this for quite a few years, Nick, that at some point Facebook and Instagram either need to converge, into the same platform because they're doing the same things, just in a little different format here.
That's right. And is this, I should also note that I am wearing Chris Bear's shirt tonight. representing the OCD Kids movie.
Nice. I'm so glad he came because it reminded me of his business bear story that he did yesterday.
Oh, did he?
I know we're jumping ahead, but with the Instagram, tagging everybody and everything.
And there is definitely a lot of tagging everybody and everything on Instagram. I'm wondering, Christian, if the stories, you can do the stories over to Facebook and Instagram. If you're gonna if you really want to alienate your audience, you'll just keep sharing all the same stuff across all the platforms.
Yes.
I think that's still going to happen. I think that's going to continue to happen. I don't ever see that going away.
But it'll be interesting to see. I agree. I don't think I'll see that going away either. But I'll be interested to see if the shopping bag icon will show up if I post it from Instagram, whether or not it'll show up over on Facebook. I imagine it will, but will you be able to click it from there?
That's a good question. I would say right now, probably not.
Right.
But I think that, at some point you'll probably see that happen. It could be that, the good thing about Facebook is they have two platforms to test on. So what works on Instagram and what works on Facebook, maybe two different implementations. But it could be the same. We'll see.
That's right.
So that's the shopping from Instagram stories.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward. How do you
definitely an option for brands there?
Definitely. So, Sarah, how do you see this being useful for a business? Obviously, we're working with some major brands here. People need an Instagram business profile at some point, and for Instagram to add this. But how do you see this being useful for businesses? Any particular industries that could really benefit? Obviously, retail.
So when I look at the photo, of course, when they're advertising a new tool, they make it look really great. But the truth is, businesses aren't gonna do that. Most businesses are going to find some way to push some product, and it's not going to be fun and interactive. So a really cool way I think to use it is through influencer marketing. And to me, influencer marketing is not finding like a Shonduras necessarily. Influencer marketing is local, finding someone who has a voice, kind of like we were talking about the dentist, on Musical.ly. So I think companies are going to be using a lot more influencer marketing as they figure out how to communicate through that better. And so this is just another way to because that's kind of what it is they're people pushing products in a very unique way. And I think that could be a creative way to use it other than just another outlet. I mean, social media is turning into just an outlet to just push your products a million different ways. And it's really getting boring. So I really hope that businesses can start to use these tools creatively. You guys were just talking about using content across multiple platforms. I'm never an advocate of blindly just posting the same stuff, but I use Snapchat to create a lot of my content. And so I'll share a snap on Facebook or a snap on Twitter, like a good morning or something, but I certainly don't share the whole story because I use Snapchat as my creative tool to make content fun, so I just think businesses get really lazy, honestly, and you see a lot of junk content, and hopefully it can be as creative as what we're seeing there in the little example.
Yeah,
and I think you make a great point there, about a business. Businesses need to start with a strategy. I saw this actually posted over on Facebook. Somebody asked the question, what's the best platform for people to join?
Where's your target audience?
Here's the thing: they gave hardly any other context to it, and the answer is pretty simple. You need to have a strategy first.
Yeah.
You need a strategy. You need to know who you're trying to reach, and then determine the platform.
That's first. Right.
Like, all that stuff will unfold. Exactly. And in this case, from a shopping perspective. Think about look at what the use in this case. This is just for major brands right now. Use that as a bit of a measuring stick to say, hey, you know what? Like, I'm not a Louis Vuitton, I'm not an Adidas, but what are they doing that I can possibly borrow for my business? Or look into what they're doing. Like, these companies, they're not just pushing product all the time. They also have a lot more to their company. They're also a lot bigger. So you have to look at it and say, I need a sound strategy first. And then I need to start implementing some of these things in a very calculated way. That's the way these companies work. They're very, very deliberate with what they post, when they post, why they post it. They don't just, throw it out there and say, hey, let's see if it sticks. So,
Well,
and Nick, yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go.
No,
I was just
go
going
ahead,
to say
Sarah.
that's what a lot of businesses do. When people come to me to talk about social media marketing, the first thing I hear is it's almost like just frustration. Like, I don't know what to post because they're so busy focused on the pretty, I guess, the sexy part of content, where if you're sitting there saying, I don't know what to post, then there's a whole string of things that have to be figured out first before you can even answer that question.
Yeah. And Bernard Nomberg in the chat knows this. When people want to focus on the sexy side of social, that's where they get me involved. Let's move on because we only have I think we beat this one to death, and it's not going to be available to most of our businesses yet. But this one is available. This new introducing the @mention sharing from Instagram is available to businesses, all sorts of them, and individuals. So when somebody mentions you in their story, you'll be able to share that photo or video into your own story. So when you're caught up in a soccer game or focused on a big project and you don't take out your phone, you can still share the moment. When someone mentions you in their story, you receive a notification in direct message thread with that person. Now you'll see an option to add that content to your own story. I did this yesterday. Friend Alicia Kinchlow from the Legal Minds group actually tagged me, and I had the option. It wasn't yesterday, it was 2 days ago, and I had the option to go ahead and put that on my story, which I did just to test it out. And I think this is actually a really great feature for businesses of all kinds, especially those of us in the services and who aren't major, nationwide brands necessarily. I think this is a fun way to engage your community, engage your audience, and engage your customers and clients if you're giving them a shout out, essentially, and engaging with them and encouraging them to maybe share something that you were both a part of. So this, I think, is a good tool to use. And what happened was we were on a call together, and Alicia took a picture of it and tagged several of us who were on the call and shared it on her story. I hadn't had the opportunity because I was kind of doing two things at once, so I couldn't do the image. I couldn't take a picture of the call and share it on social. So I think this is good. What are your thoughts, Sarah?
My real thoughts are congratulations, Instagram, for doing your job, because this is I don't know how long this has been on Snapchat, but I tested out with Chelsea Pites today just to see how it works and see how it shows up. And when she asked how to do it, and when I explained it to her, I realized it's the same thing you do in Snapchat. You just start typing and you start with the @ and it finds the people, that have, if you start to type your a letter or whatever of the name, it pulls up all the people that start with A or something like that, and you can choose from. So again, all I see really in the back end of all these platforms is they're just trying to one-up each other constantly, but they're all using the same technology, Right. And so I don't know. I guess it's cool for Instagram folks because when I try to use Instagram stories, and I'm so spoiled by Snapchat stories. Instagram stories feels very behind to me in the times. Mm-hmm. And so this kind of, I guess, brings them back up to the present day.
Yeah, and I think the only reason I think this is good, I've always done more Snapchat stories than others. Mm-hmm. Than Instagram stories, although I've been getting over to the Instagram side a little bit more recently. And the only reason I think this is good for business over Snapchat is the number of users on the platform, for one. Yeah. And the fact that you can have a business account and run ads and things like that. So you really, and I think it's more visible or more easily discoverable than I think Snapchat is for businesses.
That's
So
actually a good point. So are you saying a business page can tag a person?
I'm imagining that they can. I will double check that with a friend who has a business page, but
that would be cool, because on Facebook it's really hard to tag people if you're coming from a business page.
Right. So, my use of a business page was when I was working on a political campaign earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
And our friend Kim Fleck says that yes, they can do that. A business page can.
Cool. Okay, so that's neat to me.
Yeah, but when I was running somebody's Instagram account for their political campaign earlier this year, the Instagram business account is very similar to just a regular Instagram account. There's almost no difference. Christian, what are your thoughts on this?
I think this is very, very useful for I think from a business purpose, this is fantastic to have. Granted, you know what, it may be behind the times. You've got other platforms that are already doing it, but as you mentioned, Instagram's got the numbers. And that's the platform that people are on right now. Not to say that like Snapchat may do a better job at implementing this. But for Instagram, everybody's on Instagram now. I think from a business purpose, like if you're, for instance, you mentioned a great example. If I'm a business and if I do events or I'm a personality, for instance, or a brand ambassador for a company, like this is a great way for you to tag them or them to tag you. So I think this is very useful. I think the next feature that needs to be figured out though is notifications. We get tons of notifications. So I think we need some better ways to manage those because you could spend all your time in Instagram, for instance, just getting notifications, depending on how popular you are. But, with this, very simple. I mean, somebody mentions you in a story, you get a notification. It's going to be in your direct messages, by the way, with that person.
That's cool.
And then you're going to see an option to add that content to your own story. Pretty simple. Yep. Tap it, see that story as a sticker, and then you can scale and rotate, do all the other stuff you want with it. But very useful feature for both profiles and businesses.
Yeah, very useful feature. So I think this is good. Our next story for tonight is improving customer service from advertisers, and this comes from Facebook. I've done, disclaimer, I've done no shopping on Facebook. So I don't have personal experience with this, but they've essentially... We have community standards and ads policies that govern the ads on our platform, but these don't apply to bad shopping experiences off of Facebook. Like after you click on an ad that takes you to the retailer's site or app to make a purchase. So these are, you found it on Facebook and now you've gone to somewhere else to buy it. So they spoke with a bunch of people who purchased things from Facebook advertisers, and the two biggest frustrations they heard were that people don't like ads that quote inaccurate shipping times or that misrepresent products. So they're taking steps to try and identify these and other common frustrations with a new tool launching globally. It's designed to let people review businesses that they've made a purchase from, with the hope of connecting more people with businesses that meet their expectations. So as you can see in the example here, it'll allow you, if you bought something from Jasper's Market, they encourage you to give feedback on your purchase from Jasper's Market, or they ask how satisfied were you with Jasper's Market. You can find this tool in your ads activity tab. There you can view ads you've recently clicked and hit the leave feedback button. This will prompt you to complete a brief questionnaire to tell us about your experience. They also are sharing this feedback directly with businesses that receive high volumes of negative feedback, so that they give them a chance to improve before Facebook takes further action. They'll give them guidance on how to improve customer satisfaction and better meet customer expectations. So I think this is good for businesses. I think the only thing that I find that it worries me is that it'll have that Yelp effect, where you'll get the trolls in there leaving bad reviews, or get on somebody's Reddit and start and bring a whole bunch of people over to leave bad reviews for using Jasper's Market. Although I imagine it's going to have some tracking that requires that you actually have purchased something from Jasper's Market in order to leave the review. So I think overall this may improve. Certainly as a small business who's shipping all over the nation, I'd probably want to have the feedback of whether or not I was meeting people's expectations, especially if my Facebook ads were a big portion of my business. So I think this is probably a positive step. I do worry that it can be abused, but hopefully they have some built-in protections for those businesses out there who are selling on Facebook. Mm. Sarah, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are Facebook is in so much trouble right now that they are probably, I'd like to think that they're gonna, make sure that this is rolled out properly so that they don't hurt advertisers, because that's their bread and butter. And those are the businesses that are spending money with them to do these ads. And, from a consumer perspective, I kind of like the tightening of the reins a little bit for businesses. I was just on Amazon today looking for a black t-shirt. There's so many black t-shirts, and I ended up picking one based off of the reviews and the photos that people put in there. And the ones that didn't have any reviews, I was kind of nervous about buying the product. So I like that this kind of gives some accountability to businesses and allows them to, my favorite portion is that they can kind of, forget how you worded it, they can kind of make up if their reviews have gone down, or their feedback, I guess, because the reviews on Facebook, as you know, you have no control over that. You can't do anything. It's very hard to dispute them, where this seems like they kind of have a choice or a chance to make their business name a little bit better and fix things if there's an issue. And that will only help people trust them more. So I think it's good.
That's good. And we do have a couple of comments here. We have Melissa Giambasciani says, I've literally given up buying anything from a Facebook link.
I know.
She said she paid for extra shipping to get something faster. The companies on Facebook don't send correct tracking info, and she's definitely noticed this trend. So she's DM'd them directly, still haven't had any resolution. So she's not a fan of this.
So I wonder if businesses just don't know how to use the shopping setup side of the tool?
It's very possible, very possible. And then Kim also says it should have a separation between clicked ads and purchased from feedback. If it doesn't, that could present a problem. I think that's a fair statement there. They say they'll alert businesses if it's negative, but she's wondering if they can alert if there is positive feedback as well. That would be nice. Mm-hmm. Christian, what are your thoughts on this?
So I see actually a whole different side of this that I think everybody's kind of overlooking here. Like Facebook, yes, they've got a lot of problems. They've got a lot of things going on. But, and so they're trying to smooth everybody's, they're trying to make the platform right. They're trying to fix some things, obviously. But I think this also starts with bad businesses. There's a lot of bad business. Like you mentioned, for instance, like Amazon. There are a lot of bad businesses on Facebook. There are a lot on Amazon as well. Like Amazon, for instance, they don't police their reviews, so you don't know what kind of product you're going to get. Facebook, though, on the other hand, has the same problem. They have the same problem because a lot of people are misusing the platform. They're not, the examples they gave, they talked about, shipping times or misrepresentation. I think misrepresentation is the bigger issue here. You have a lot of people, for instance, social media marketing. We have a lot of people in social media marketing that are pushing, basically things that seem like get rich quick schemes, for instance, that people are making purchases on because, hey, they look at the ad and it seems very useful. Or people are buying services. They're not getting the service they're expecting. They're buying physical products. And so I think this actually is going to lead to a broader thing, which is Facebook getting rid of a lot of businesses on Facebook. Or in this case, I think they're going to remove businesses from, for instance, being able to advertise. That's what I'm gathering from this, based off the feedback score. Because, for example, if a business is already having, the shipping times, a lot of times that's out of their control once it's, having worked in e-commerce for 10 plus years, when they ship things, it's a lot of times it's out of their control once it leaves their facility. Mm-hmm. So it's not up to Facebook. It could be like UPS had a delay USPS, FedEx, whatever shipping service is there. So that's part of the thing. I think the other hand, though, is, a business like giving them feedback. I realize it can be misused, and you're going to have people that submit positive feedback. You're going to have people that submit a lot of negative feedback. But I think it's not going to change the business itself. And as a result, if Facebook sees you're getting a lot of negative feedback, I think they're going to kick you off. They're going to give you a warning I'm speculating here, but they're going to give you, I think, some sort of, maybe they'll remove your Facebook ad options for a short period of time. And then I think after that, they would remove your business possibly from Facebook. That's what I see happening with this. Not just being a way to improve customer service, because, hey, I didn't get my stuff shipped.
You mean like a way for Facebook to kind of weed out businesses who are not using the platform well?
Absolutely,
I should like the sound of that.
And that's what I think is going to happen with it. I think there's an underlying message.
And Melissa also comments on your statement there, Christian, saying that Amazon has a ton of reviews, and she's found way more credibility with Amazon than anything she's bought on Facebook.
Yeah.
So, in this, I got to tell you, this is just a trend for me, and I'm wondering, sort of just an aside, wondering if anybody else experiences this, but other than business related, I'm not spending any time on Facebook. So
I'm not buying anything.
I'm certainly not buying anything, and I'm not looking at my news feed. I just very little time over there that's unrelated to running our business page and our ads through our business page.
I've had this conversation several times in the last month that if I wasn't a marketer, I wouldn't use Facebook.
Right.
I have to know how to keep up with it. I wouldn't use it.
Exactly.
And the biggest challenge you have, for example, like let's talk about it from like a shopping perspective. People that are on Facebook that are trying to I think what's happening here, you can weed out the major brands. I think your Adidas, like your Nikes, or major brands that are selling products through Facebook. They're doing it, and they have a whole team that handles all of these requests that come in. Right. And I think what's probably happening here is you have a lot of small businesses that are getting on there. Part of it's like ignorance, not knowing how the platform works. But I think at the same time, they're not really up on like getting your product out. They're not caring about the customer service aspect of things. Which is, hey, somebody made for instance, if you placed a product at 9 a.m., maybe they don't check their products until like 5 p.m. or something like that. And at that point, you've already missed the shipping window probably to get it out. So I think that could be partly what's happening is the type of business that's on Facebook, with not getting the item out, or maybe they're just not really good at listing their products, because we've worked with tons of businesses, and a lot of them, for them to even list products, it takes a lot of time for them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think it's a structural issue within the company.
Well, I think it goes back to something we talked about earlier, that businesses just use it as like another sales outlet and just like stuff, on platforms and aren't really monitoring. And I think that you bring up a good point there.
And let's move on to our last story of the night so Christian can give us some tools. This is, again, I'm going to reiterate that there will be a blog post available tomorrow. There were some big changes on Twitter and other topics that we just couldn't get to tonight. So look for that blog post tomorrow on socialchefs.com. This is an article from Marketing Land. LinkedIn rolls out sponsored content carousel ads that can include up to 10 customized swipeable cards. So LinkedIn's rolling out this new sponsored content carousel ads that can include up to 10 customized swipeable cards. The company says the new ads will allow brands to add texture to their LinkedIn campaigns by featuring multiple visuals arranged horizontally that viewers can swipe through in their LinkedIn feed. LinkedIn carousel ads come with standard metrics for measuring a campaign's performance, including click-through rates and a number of leads. Advertisers will also get metrics around clicks and impressions for the individual cards within the ad, which I think is important, because if you've got multiple cards in the carousel, you want to know what the metrics are for each individual one. Because if there's a drop-off at some point, you need to know why. Because carousel ads are interactive and have eye-catching visuals, they stand out in the newsfeed, says LinkedIn. Your stories become tangible and encourage your audience to engage with your brand on both desktop and mobile. So LinkedIn included more than 300 advertisers in the beta run of its carousel ads and says nearly 75% of the test group saw a lift in click-through rates compared to their standard sponsored content ads. So, I mean, I think this is just, in my experience, this is more everything going towards video rather than still image. I think that's what they're using to catch people's attention. I don't know, unless you're telling a story across 10 separate individual items, I feel like 10 is a lot. Mm-hmm. And it better be a really compelling story to tell. And I think some people could do this. I feel like maybe your National Geographic or a business like that could really tell a compelling story over 10 separate carousel ads. I didn't see in here, Christian, the length of each card.
They didn't give that.
They didn't give that information. So
what are they calling a card? Is it like an image?
A video. It could be a video or an image.
Okay.
I think it said. I think I got video out of this. Yeah, maybe.
Is this somehow different from Facebook's carousel, other than the?
Very similar.
Okay, so just you have
Instagram
like 5
just released a. Instagram just started doing this not long ago, right, Christian? I think we might have talked about this last time I was on.
Yeah, Instagram a couple weeks ago actually. They did carousel ads. Yeah.
So everybody's doing it. It'll be interesting to see. I think it's important if you can have more interactive ads. I think you should take advantage of it. I feel like 10's a lot. If I recall correctly, Instagram had like 5 in their carousel, I think, Christian. So 5 seems like a more standard, if you get me to go to more than 1 or 2 on an ad, that's pretty surprising. But that's why I say somebody compelling, or what I would find compelling, like from National Geographic or something like that. I think that, I could really, get into a story if it's told correctly.
I think I might test this with my free $50 that they keep waving around in my face, because LinkedIn is so educational based. I wonder if it can't be turned into like a mini class kind of a thing, and not like a boring slide deck or something like that, but just kind of like an educational piece that at the end of the ad, that maybe they don't necessarily buy something, but they've learned something and gained some value. I don't know. That's kind of what I have in my mind.
That's not a bad idea. Christian, what do you think?
I think overall, it's another you have another option for advertising. I think that the usefulness here is going to be in how, I think 10, for instance, is too much, by the way, 10 cards. Yeah. But I think that it gives you the opportunity to expand, to start with, your 1s and your 2s, to have a couple of different, make your ad more interactive, more engaging, and then, build it out basically to tell your story. I think that's like, for example, if I were using this, you could use it for instance, like say you have an event, you could have a couple of them featuring testimonials. Another might have a couple of, things that people are going to learn. And then maybe you have, a couple of short little videos, but keep things light, but make sure you're tapping into, just different ways you can tell your story. I think that's the important part here.
I think so too. Christian, I see we've gone almost 45 minutes already, so we should probably jump to tools.
Definitely. Let's do that. Let me get my links together for everybody. And by the way, I think overall, like the LinkedIn feature, for instance, this is very similar to what already exists for other platforms. But the thing is, you kind of have to keep with the trends that the other platforms are using. For example, if somebody wants to advertise on Facebook and use carousel ads, and they want to advertise on Instagram and use the same thing, LinkedIn probably needs to keep up. And I'm seeing a lot more activity from LinkedIn these days.
They've been making quite a few changes, so I think that's good. They need they need to have more of a reason to go over there. And I think they're struggling there to get that, but I think they're working towards it.
Absolutely. So it's going to be tool time. And so we have two tools for everybody today. We have the first one is called it's called CropSize, and this is a tool for people to be able to resize their images on their mobile device for other social media channels. This is a $4.99 app. That might seem a little steep for a tool, at least especially a mobile app. But what this app is going to do is it's going to let you do your resizing directly on your mobile device. This way you don't have to wait until you get home to resize your images and whatnot that you need to do for your other channels.
Okay. I don't have a lot of that I need to do, so I probably wouldn't use it. How about you, Sarah?
I don't know. Is it just for photo or for video too?
It's only for photos. Here's the thing: doing video on a mobile or doing any sort of video resizing for video is you don't have as much flexibility from that perspective. For video, you have to actually like re-encode the video. There's a lot that goes into it,
Okay.
so it's not just like, hey, let me go ahead and let me resize this video, for instance. You can't really do that on a mobile device.
Okay, because that would have been cool because that's the hardest thing for me.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's the thing. That's why, like, for example, like that's why people have to have, you have to have a laptop, for instance, and the whole purpose of having a laptop is it needs the power to be able to, to resize. It basically has to re-render everything you're doing. For photos, it's a little different. And again, by the way, if you are going to use photos, and you're going to resize them, always start with the highest resolution photo. So take it, increase your camera's set. For instance, if you have like an iPhone, go into settings, go into camera. So make sure you go to settings first and then camera, and then, increase the resolution that you're taking the photo at. This way you can then scale it down properly. If you try to take something too small or you have it set too low and you try to scale it, it's going to, come out pixelated. But this app, this will help you basically do a lot of your editing. It'll do image sizing. It'll also do your meta tags and whatnot as well, which is important.
Really? On mobile?
Every photo you have, informative UI and metadata, so that way you can see it. So, that's key. Every photo you take, you need to, check out the data that's on that photo, the location, all that sort of stuff. And that can help with people trying to find certain things. So,
all right.
So that's tool number one. Else? And then tool number two is a tool called Zoho Social, and it's a social media dashboard tool. You're probably like, oh, another social media. But here's the thing: there's a lot of different apps for managing your social media channels. You can use your Hootsuite, your Buffers, your Agorapulses. Like, they all do a fantastic job. But, from a budget standpoint, they're not always the right budget for a business. Zoho Social is another one. This one actually has a couple of features that are a little unique. What this one does is it has some intelligent scheduling built into it. So a lot of times, people just, schedule it what they think is the right time. But Zoho Social can help them with that. This one, you can download the mobile app for free. I think there's a paid subscription for the regular service. But it's, another option that you have for your mobile, if you want to do any sort of scheduling. What are you currently using, Sarah, for scheduling?
I use Agorapulse. I've used it for about 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite because reporting is very, very important to me, and they have the most robust reporting. I mean, using the Agorapulse tool, I've had one of the biggest breakthroughs in my career through determining ROI. So I am very committed to Agorapulse. Unfortunately, I guess it's Facebook's fault. You can't tag anymore. I don't know if that's on all platforms. You can't tag people, and the links, you're kind of stuck with the image. That when you share a link, you're stuck with whatever image. You can't change the image.
Yeah, the image. Yeah, they removed the feature for letting you change images quite a while ago. Actually, I think it was sometime last year. But they did that because a lot of people would, misrepresent. Again, it comes back to what we talked about earlier. They misrepresent what their article is about. Yeah. So they removed that. But that's the thing that comes back to, I'm going to say this again, like, and that's the reason I started socialchefs.com. Like, it comes back to fundamentals. Like, you have to have the right social media fundamentals before you can really, you could start posting on the platform, but you need to have all the basics down, all the fundamentals down to do it the right way. The right way, for example, if you're going to post something on, an image, you need to optimize all your content. You need to have the images set up for your articles that you're sharing so that they look right on Facebook, on Pinterest, on LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever channel people are sharing them on. But back to the tool, Zoho Social, again, it's a dashboard, does some smart scheduling. It lets you tap into your insights. You can monitor your brand mentions as well. That I think is a very useful feature because a lot of people, for example, Buffer, Hootsuite. Hootsuite can be hard to keep up with. It can be very overwhelming. It's a good, dashboard for Twitter, not so much for a lot of the other platforms. And again, as I mentioned, price. But that's tool 2 for everybody this week. So
how much is Zoho?
So you got a free download for the mobile app. And then from their purchasing perspective, actually, I'll get the price for everybody.
Sorry, let me make you research.
No, it's all good. All good. No, actually, and a lot of these, tools, like, they might charge, $10. In this case, it's like $8.33 a month for their standard plan.
That's cool because Brand24, I think, is like $50 a month, and that's if that can do what Brand24 can do for $8, that's pretty good.
Yeah, you get quite a few things here. Actually, I'll actually share the screen as well. I'll just pull this up real quick for everybody. So here's a look at their pricing, their overall pricing. $8.33. That's the standard plan. You've got professionals. That one actually jumps to about $41. But here are a lot of the features you get. You get to tap into like Facebook lead ads, custom reports, advanced reports, more monitoring, bulk scheduling. So features that a number of the other social media management dashboards don't offer.
It seems like it's kind of merged a lot of the good portions of some of the other platforms.
Yes.
Cool.
So that's what it is. Yeah. So Nick, you want to take us home?
Yeah, I thank you, Sarah, for being with us tonight. Can you tell people where to find you?
Yes, you can find me anywhere on social media. I'm on Mrs. D Stahl, so at Mrs. D Stahl on Twitter and Instagram, and then Avant Creative on Facebook, and then Sarah Stahl on LinkedIn.
All right. Excellent.
It's always fun with you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for your insights. Christian, the blog post will be out tomorrow.
We will have a blog post out tomorrow. Yeah, you can just get that by going to socialchefs.com/daily. Click subscribe and enter your email address. Click subscribe, and then we will send you that email with the blog recap along with some other topics as well. Excellent. But it's been a pleasure having everybody on. Thanks a lot for.
And thank you to Kim and Bernard and Melissa and Danica. Who else joined us tonight? Chris was here. He was here briefly, and I don't want to give. He didn't get enough credit for that. So thank you all. Mel Zawadski was here as well. So thank you, everybody, for being here tonight, and we'll see you next time.
Cool. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.